Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to my Virtue Arcade. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already because it does help the channel to grow. Today we're going to be going over 22 Wii games that are playable on the modded Wii across multiple emulators. The majority of them will be the arcade versions, so just keep that in mind as we go through the list. And I am going to be using the Dream Gear arcade fighting stick. That's what I like to use with the typical fighting games that I have, but you can also use the classic controller if that's what you prefer. But before I forget, for all my music subscribers out there, I just uploaded a brand new drum and bass jump tech mix. Fast BPMs, heavy bass, and crazy tunes to keep you busy during your most extreme gaming sessions. Just head on over to the drum and bass drum step playlist to check it out now. And with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into some street fighting goodness. We'll be covering mostly the arcade versions of the Street Fighter games because in my opinion, those are the best versions to play on the modded Wii, unless otherwise noted. The titles in here using Retroarch are running different cores, which I'll list in the video, and we'll also leave the list in the description below. First up on the list is the original Street Fighter that was released in the arcade in 1987. You're going to be using the MAME 2000 core along with Retroarch. The gameplay on this is great, however you do see a little bit of graphical issues with the numbers and letters, but other than that, this game is flawless. Street Fighter 2010, The Final Fight, was actually a spin-off from the arcade version, but this was released on the Nintendo. So for this, you're going to be using the FCE Ultra GX emulator. It may not be the type of Street Fighter game you're used to seeing, but it's definitely worth checking out. The original Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior arcade version, you're going to be using the FB Alpha 2012 CPS-1 core along with Retroarch. As you can see here, this game has absolutely no issues playing on a modded Wii. Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, the arcade version. For this, you're going to need to use the FB Alpha 2012 CPS-1 core along with Retroarch. Another game that plays flawlessly on the modded Wii. Street Fighter 2 Rainbow Edition Set 1 using FB Alpha 2012 CPS-1 core in Retroarch. This is actually an interesting hack that came out in the arcade shortly after Champion Edition. Capcom had this removed, but later on created hyper fighting based off of all of the changes that this original hack had. My personal favorite out of the bunch, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, the arcade version, using FB Alpha 2012 CPS-1 core in Retroarch. Hyper Street Fighter 2 The Anniversary Edition arcade, using FB Alpha 2012 CPS-2 core in Retroarch. As a small side note, all of the games using the CPS-2 core run flawless. Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, the arcade version, using FB Alpha 2012 CPS-2 core in Retroarch. Alright, and next up is Street Fighter Alpha, the arcade version, coincidentally using FB Alpha 2012 CPS-2 core in Retroarch. Next up is Street Fighter Alpha 2, the arcade, using FB Alpha 2012 CPS-2 core in Retroarch. Round 1, fight! And you guys guessed it, Street Fighter Alpha 3, the arcade version, and you'll need to use FB Alpha 2012 CPS2 core in Retroarch.
Go for it, man!
And another alpha game in the series, Street Fighter 02 Alpha. For this, you need to use FB Alpha 2012 CPS2 core in Retroarch. The next title in this list is actually a fun spin-off of the Street Fighter series called Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix, the arcade version, and you will be using FB Alpha 2012 CPS2 core in Retroarch. This game is definitely a welcome addition on your modded Wii, and don't let the cutesy graphics scare you, this game is tough as nails. Another fun but odd spin-off to the Street Fighter series, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, using FB Alpha 2012 CPS2 core in Retroarch. It's the Tetris of Street Fighter games. And just a fair warning, the first 2 levels might be easy, but after that, good luck. I mean, this was made to eat all your quarters, so go figure. We are working our way down this list, guys, and we still got more to go. Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers, using FB Alpha 2012 CPS2 core in Retroarch. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Arcade, using FB Alpha 2012 CPS2 core in Retroarch. And I hate fighting Fei Long. Another one of my personal favorites, X-Men vs Street Fighter, the arcade. And to get this running on your modded Wii, of course, you're going to use FB Alpha 2012 CPS2 core in Retroarch. If you've been keeping up with the arcade 1-up news, they have just released this cab. But I already have it on the modded Wii, and I also have it on my arcade 1-up, which is modded, so I think I'm pretty set. And this is the PlayStation 1 version of Street Fighter the movie, so you will need the WiiSX emulator. I couldn't get the arcade ROM to work with MAME or Retroarch, so this is the best way to go. The only thing that is the issue here is that the background music is missing. However, the sound effects are still there and the gameplay is awesome. I mean, you could always hum the music if you miss it that much. Street Fighter EX Plus Alpha. This is the PlayStation 1 version, so you will need the WiiSX emulator. In order to get this game running smoothly on your modded Wii, you need to go into your WiiSX settings and turn on frame skip. Yes, frame skip cringe, I know, but trust me, the gameplay looks awesome even when it's on. The PlayStation 1 version of Street Fighter EX2 Plus. And to get this running on your modded Wii, you of course need to use WiiSX, which is the PlayStation emulator, and you need to go into your WiiSX settings and turn on frame skip. Alright, and we are winding down to the end of our Street Fighter list here, working on the modded Wii. This is Street Fighter 3 Second Impact. To get this working, you do need to use FB Alpha 2012 CPS3 core in Retroarch. Wii modders have been working for a long time to get this working on the modded Wii, and thankfully, we finally have a playable version of this. This does not play perfectly on the modded Wii though, as you can see that the frame rate does have to be set on skip, and the sound is a little bit choppy. But other than that, it does play pretty well, and I'm just glad that it is finally playable on a Wii. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made it to the end of our list here. This is Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. You are going to have to use FCE Alpha 2012 CPS3 core in Retroarch. Just like we saw with Second Impact, the gameplay in here is not the best, but it is still playable. The music is choppy and the frame skip is on so that this ROM can play properly on the modded Wii. I have a feeling that over time the Wii modders are going to get this game to run flawlessly on the modded Wii, but for now it is what it is, and it is still fun to play. Alright y'all, that's it for today. 22 Street Fighter games on the modded Wii. I didn't include any Capcom Versus titles in this vid because that's more of a branch off of the Street Fighter series in general, but you can be sure that I'll be doing a video that includes those games in the near future. Which Street Fighter is your favorite of the bunch? Do you prefer the arcade versions of Street Fighter, or do the home console versions hold more nostalgia for you? And if I left out any Street Fighter games that work on the modded Wii, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, peeps. See you next time.